Welcome to our web exclusive. I'm Mike Montecalvo, along with Eyewitness News analyst Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio. The latest developments on the security breach, or maybe we should say breaches, at the former World Trade Center, which is now called the Freedom Tower. General, the recent episode was a teenager was able to get in, go right through several floors, and then climb onto the spire. The big question everyone's asking is, how does this happen?
It happens because obviously the security in place is inadequate. Both from a physical point of view as well as a surveillance point of view. Now, I'm under the impression that there is a perimeter on the entire construction site as well as cameras. He got in, and obviously the other breach concern that we're concerned in talking about is they were able to go through a gap in the fence, which is the first line of defense is the physical aspects of it, and that was not adequate.
Well, this week, 4 men turned themselves in for base jumping the Freedom Tower back in September. The police commissioner said this week that this is sending a message for anyone who wants to break in. But what is the real message here if these teenagers are able to get in?
Looking at it from my point of view, the message should be go to the police department and those that are responsible for the physical security. Any kid, anybody that has any desire to want to do something spectacular is going to do it unless you have systems in place. This system in place is not adequate. So the message should be to them that you need to beef up your perimeter and make sure you have adequate surveillance in the form of either cameras or additional security. The police already have 200 officers dedicated to this site.
Spending millions of dollars on this already.
Absolutely. And in the end state, there's supposed to be about $40 million worth of surveillance as well as personnel to protect this site against this from happening.
Police commissioner also is concerned about endangering the public too. There's a small side to that.
So nevertheless, it's there. The possibility is 100%. Probability very small, and I think they had enough sense to do this. The jump when the streets were deserted. But nevertheless, someone could have still been there, or they could have hurt themselves. So I think that's just part of the equation as far as safety is concerned.
All right, you're saying something needs to be done, but this is not something that's a quick fix when you really think about it. Or was this had to be mapped out for years?
A gap in the fence seems to me that you need to look at it, maybe on a daily basis. You can't just assume that the integrity of the fence is always good unless someone looks at it, or you have surveillance cameras looking at each possibility that the fence should be able to be breached.
Now, that teen that climbed the spire said he was able to get through because the security guard was sleeping. What kind of vetting process do we need to go through here?
Well, that's another story as far as personnel is concerned, and how do you ensure that the people that you have on duty are trustworthy and not going to go to sleep. That's a whole process all by itself. I think when you get into the security aspects of it, just as you do with protecting classified information in the government, you got to make sure that somebody you trust that with is able to do it. And consequently, this individual who went to sleep didn't have that first and foremost in his mind.
President Obama this week said that he is more worried about the possibility of a nuclear weapon exploding in New York City than a threat by Russia following the invasion of Ukraine. What do you make of that
I'm not
statement?
sure that that's a good analogy. I certainly would not endorse him saying that. Here I am, I'm not criticizing the commander-in-chief, but having to draw that analogy on the side of our allies would say, well, maybe you're more concerned about New York City than you are about a potential threat by Russia against us. And I think it could have been taken the wrong way. And I'm not sure he should use that as an analogy.
Staying with Russia for a second, General, the sanctions are not working. Putin has just turned his back to it.
He is, and unfortunately, the sanctions put in place, as I understand them, will perhaps hurt Europe first before it touches Russia. And Russia, in this particular case, has the upper hand because Russia controls the natural resources such as gas supplying Europe and specifically Germany.
With all of this going on, Russia and China have refused to sign a new procedure to protect nuclear weapons getting into terrorist hands. Do you think this plays into what's going on in Crimea?
I think it has to some extent, yes. But nevertheless, every time there's any kind of a sanction or any policy having to do with dealing with those countries, Russia and China has always been either absent or voted not in favor of.
And quickly, we have troops that came home from Afghanistan.
Yes, this past week we had troops come home from Afghanistan after about 18 months deployment, and did a beautiful job, and it's good to have them home.
All right, General, thank you very much, and thanks for watching.